Welcome to Branching Out by Bonsai, the podcast where marketing gets measured, myths get busted, and acronyms get explained. No filler, just the good stuff. Let's get into it. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah.
So could you tell us, who are you?
Oh, are we recording?
Could we record now?
I can.
Sorry, I'll redo it. Eric, who are you?
Yeah, I'm Eric. People call me Schlick. A lot of people call me Schlick. That's where, I don't know, it was a childhood name, and now my son's being called Schlick. My other kids are being called Schlick, so it's kind of weird to hear. But no, I'm a Wheaton native, born and raised. Got out for a little bit. Went to school in Kansas, so I have a kind of a heart for Kansas.
Yeah.
And then came back. I'm one of three kids. My dad was a lawyer. My mom was a nurse. Got two sisters, one older, one younger. I always say you either embrace Wheaton like I did, or you move to California. So that's right.
So you mentioned you either move to California or you embrace Wheaton.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess that is one of the questions I have. So I would like you to tell us about kind of the different endeavors you've got going here in Wheaton that are like super exciting, but maybe like, I guess tell us like what did you do before you kind of went on the path to entrepreneurship here in Wheaton?
Sure. So I knew I'm one of those weird kids that knew exactly what they wanted to do when I grew up. From preschool, I was considered, at preschool, I was considered the foreman. So I told all the kids how to build with blocks. And then that kind of grew into always drawing, designing airports when I was at the airport waiting to fly out. So architecture was where I was headed.
Yeah.
Always knew I wanted to do that, so I pursued it. Took drafting classes in high school, and then it was very clear once college came around, that's what I wanted to do. So I applied to a bunch of architecture schools, landed at Kansas. After that, practiced architecture downtown in the city for 5.5 years at a small to medium-sized firm, but we did some really cool stuff. My first project was over in Abu Dhabi. It was 4 office buildings and a stock exchange. I was not designing those things, but I was designing the stairs, the egress stairs. But I was doing some other cool stuff, like the little boom that goes out and where you wash the windows, detailing that, because they had like a horizontal garage door that opened up and this thing popped up, and then anyway, pretty cool stuff.
Pretty cool.
And then worked in China, did some work in China, never traveled, always stayed put in my desk in Chicago. But there it was like, architecture was great. The stories were fun. The projects were really cool. Got up on the roof of Soldier Field to design these like little contraptions that hold the reels for the Skycam. Worked on Blue Cross Blue Shield down the city, the vertical expansion project. So just a lot of cool projects, but the work, like the workload and the time there, like I never pulled an all-nighter in college, but slept overnight in that office twice. And starting a young family, so I was just like, this is brutal. So ended up working for a furniture company out in the suburbs. And then, this was like literally like The Office, the TV show. Like it was an industrial park in the western suburbs of Chicago. And here, like I'm like 10 feet from a window at my architecture firm looking out over Lake Michigan and the Art Institute on Michigan Avenue. And here I am now in Bloomingdale next to Costco working in this industrial park with a warehouse.
Yeah.
And it's like The Office, which was funny. But then actually kind of moved up in the company, helped them open an office downtown Chicago. I was working with a bunch of design firms and architecture firms with office furniture. Mm-hmm. And that was for about 6.5, 7 years. And then I knew I wanted to do something completely different potentially, but I just wanted to get out of that industry. And then...
Was it the office situation in Bloomingdale, or was it just there were other things?
No, there were other things. It was actually kind of a intense moment of my life where my boss, who became a really good friend, that relationship kind of imploded. And so I needed to leave, I felt, and so I started interviewing with a bunch of people that he actually had connected me with, so it was a super awkward moment.
Yeah.
I went in there, eventually I was like, I'd rather him hear from me that I'm looking rather than one of his friends who I was interviewing with telling him. So I every interview, I never interviewed for a job. It's all about connections. So my dad connected me to a partner at the architecture firm. My mother-in-law introduced me to the CEO at the furniture company. And so now here I am with a resume for the first time, suiting up, taking selfies of like, hey, look, I'm going into interview, whatever. But it was so much fun. Like I had nothing to lose. I knew the next thing that I wanted to do was going to be something I wanted, not something I needed to do. So I was interviewing at all these places that could make a lot of money doing sales or whatever. But at the end of every interview, I kept telling my friends that I was interviewing with, like about this idea of this craft beer community space that I was super excited about. Yep. And I already kind of had an idea of where this could be because there was a building for sale in downtown Wheaton. And so eventually it was just like, man, I should maybe just pursue that instead of insurance sales or ETF sales or whatever I was going to go down.
And you're foreshadowing 302 Wheaton, which is like the incredible place here in town. If you live anywhere near Wheaton, you've probably been there. You've probably taken your kids there. But I believe, did you own Shane's Deli before that, or like tell us like how did the whole process? So you get the bug or the interest, and it was obviously like a wonderful thing that you did, given what happened next. But walk us through like how that started. What was the first step, and then how did you get into like really doing it on 302?
Yeah, the dream was 302, which was this garage. It's an old transmission shop that was actually literally parking at commuting downtown. The building was for sale, and I hadn't put an offer on it yet, but I knew I wanted to get into or at least test out the food and beverage hospitality industry. Yeah. My wife and I were driving back from a movie. She sees on Facebook that Shane's is closing, which is this beloved deli in downtown Wheaton and an old Cock Robin, which happens to be this like formerly beloved burger joint that's like iconic in downtown Wheaton. Iconic in general, or in these parts. Yeah, at least for sure. In the Chicago area, for sure. There were over 10 locations in this area. Yep. And so I had never really been to Shane's that much, but for some reason I'm like, let's save Shane's. Like it was closing. So I texted like 4 or 5 buddies on my way home. Don't text and drive. I had my wife text. But anyway, they started responding, like a couple of them, yes. A couple of them were like, I don't think I can do this because I actually own other restaurants and that'd be an issue. But what I wanted to do was just kind of test the market, test the industry to see, is this something I'd enjoy doing? It turns out that building that Shane's is in was going to get torn down in 2020 or eventually. And so they only had about a year left. And so that's one of the reasons why they were closing. It wasn't doing well. It was just the building was going to get torn down. And the owner didn't want to move. I think he had kind of been doing it for a while and just wanted to move on, just like I was. So anyway, on Mother's Day, it was that night that we saw on Facebook. The next day, we met with Shane of Shane's Deli and basically came to an agreement. And I think it was that Sunday, Mother's Day, we bought Shane's Deli. So it was like in 2 days, we bought a deli. Wow. Bought a deli. Yep. Obviously, like, probably learned a little bit from that, but that was helpful. And then as you were right into, soon after was 302, though. This was May of 2018 was Shane's. September of 2019 was the opening of 302. So a couple of things I learned from Shane's was I was kind of selfishly just wanting some experience. I had a design background. I knew company culture from the furniture company. That was kind of my task was to develop the company's culture using the entrepreneurial operating system. So we read a few books, did a bunch of meetings. We recreated the org chart. We created our core values based on our best people. So I recently did that with my leadership team, which is a fantastic process to go through. So I had all these skills, but I had no idea about sales tax. I had no idea about payroll and like business 101. So Shane's was my business 101, but at the same time, people saw me as this like savior of Shane's with all these other families.
Yeah.
The city loved me because that's where a lot of the city people went to eat. And I just got integrated more into the community because I was literally working the register, and it was the most fun thing because I was serving my friends and getting to know other people. So it was pretty cool. And then that led into 302. I had left. I was working Shane's and still working my furniture job at the same time.
Yep.
And my boss would sometimes come in and he would order a sandwich from me, but which was kind of funny. It's like, aren't you supposed to be working? But I got my work done for sure. But eventually I left in March of 2019, thinking that 302 would open in April for Final Four. That was the launch date. Didn't open until September 19th. 23rd, I think 23rd. I should know that.
That fall, yeah.
So at that point, what I had done was I had left my well-paying job, really wasn't getting paid by the deli, and I was just surviving off of savings, which I had retirement, but I wasn't going to pull out of that. So I don't know. I had just enough with a mortgage, 4 kids, and all my other bills, like September of 2019, right before 302 opened. And I was worked like from March to September, I was working day and night at 302. I was painting. I was doing all sorts of construction work. I've never done this before in my life. We could talk about raising money. I've never done that before. I put an offer on a building without the money.
Yeah.
But then I found people and pitched this idea. But I was working there day and night painting, trying to save money because I was pretty handy, because my biggest fear was it failing and like going over budget and just like wasting. We raised $1 million for the building plus the business. We meaning me. But yeah, it was pretty scary. And I personally I had no money when we started because we burned through it. And then first payroll, made sure all my employees got paid, and then I paid myself kind of whatever I just needed to survive, and then
it sounds like
to take off.
Even back to your business 101 comments, like how to do the payroll, what the sales tax is, where to file with, all the all that crap, burning through savings, the whole transition of like moving in and out of what was in many respects like, oh, this is a good situation, I go do something else. I can very much relate. I have more entrepreneur questions for you, but let me, before I get past it, I gotta ask. So I knew you had the site. Like there were a lot of the circumstances around the situation in Wheaton that you built it here and made a success. But you also, like you mentioned, you had like a pretty diverse, very successful career. Worked in a lot, not just in the United States, overseas, obviously in Chicago. I'm sure you knew of a lot of places you could have potentially like taken this idea to. Why didn't you do this in the West Loop? Why didn't you do this in Nashville? Why did you do this in Wheaton?
It was interesting when I was interviewing for the next thing. I thought, I want to get into real estate. That seems exciting, and so blending business with property seemed exciting. So I used a Kansas connection and actually interviewed with a guy down in the West Loop who was doing the same thing. And I learned from him, you got to know the area that you're working in extremely well. I did not know the ins and outs of the West Loop. I knew the West Loop was cool, but I didn't know all the players in the West Loop. So Wheaton, that wasn't the only reason why I was like, hey, let me just do it in Wheaton. I think I just fell in love with that one property. And then I've got a decent network in Wheaton just from growing up here, and then just from all the different Wheaton connections. It can be a very small town. The more people you know, and then just that if they get to know you, you just kind of know a little bit of everything what's going on. So I know Wheaton just from growing up. Like I know each block and how each block works and what areas work, what areas don't work. And if you were just to pull data and be an outsider, you'd probably miss the mark of where would be the best place. So like one of my dreams is to build a hotel somewhere in Wheaton. Data-wise would say build it on Roosevelt, build it on this corner, busy street, close to downtown Wheaton, which is thriving. It's like, no. Like, it's too far. People want to be able to walk. You got to be able to walk to the campus of Wheaton College. So if there's anybody out there listening about starting a hotel in Wheaton,
was it funny that was it funny that I texted you about that?
Yeah, I know.
I love the. Let me just pause real quick on that moment of knowing it really well and the ins and outs, the data, but also underneath the data.
Yeah,
that translates to so many things we do. And I mean, it makes total sense, right? Like, you understand the people that you're helping and serving, but in a way that like you just can't get from outsider's perspective.
Right. Yeah, you need to know the community intimately, which is really hard to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it could take a couple years to figure that out if you weren't from here. So I think as I grow 302, and that's kind of my hope, I'm going to start looking at communities that are similar to Wheaton. I'm not sure exactly what that means, but then spend a lot of time there, get to know the people, or at least take a shot at it, learn from that experience, and then determine what's next.
I grew up not far from here, not in Wheaton, but coincidentally, the timelines also were fairly aligned. My wife and I moved at the time was one child to Wheaton in 2018. Since we've had, we have 2 kids now, so they're at that like nice young grade school like age. But as you go through that, you of course, like if you're us, this place, you go check it out, and the whole like the whole time you're there, you're like, yep, this is exactly like, oh, yep, perfect spot for the kid. Oh, yep, perfect. I don't have, between my job and my kids, I don't have time to like figure out what are like the new cool local breweries to try. So this place has them right over there. And I don't want to think about, what of the 10 styles of sandwich, because they're just selling a burger and, a hot dog or, those kind of things that are like, they're little things, but it's like, yep. And so you get it and you understand like, this place is going to kill. And of course, like you guys have, I don't even know like to the extent you guys have killed it, but I know that like it's pretty obvious to anyone in the area. That's basically now it's like a little landmark of the town is the way I see it. So,
yeah. I wish I had a cooler story about the data of like all the research to make that. It really was because I was born here, raised here, and honestly had kids, and I knew that our community was missing a place for young families. I was like, well, let's build a place for young families. It was basically, what does Eric want in a restaurant? And it was a ton of craft beer. Initially, 302 was just going to be a craft beer tap house that we were going to bring food trucks in because I knew nothing about food. And then when I researched the liquor license in Wheaton, you need to provide a full meal. And I think I just watched The Founder, which is about Ray Kroc stealing McDonald's from the McDonald's brothers. And I was just like, burgers are so great. I love Shake Shack. I love In-N-Out. Why don't we like go back to like this original menu of just like burger, fried, drink, and just do that. And so that honestly was kind of the reason why I did that. The other funny thing is that movie, it's a great movie, so you need to watch it. But in there, BJ Novak, Ryan from The Office, he goes to Ray Kroc. He's like, you're not in the burger business, you're in the real estate business. And I didn't know exactly what that meant at the time. But I mean, you kind of have some idea, but I hadn't lived it yet. But I was like, I need to buy this property that 302 is going to be on because of that comment. And so here I am. I bought the building, and yes, 302 is doing very well. Has been able to kind of provide for me and my family, and then from Shane's and 302, everyone got to know who I was. I'm not shy. I'm not like the owner that stands behind the curtain. I like to get to know people. That's okay. A lot of people come up to me and are like, hey, Eric, how's it going? I'm like, I that is. But that's okay.
That's okay.
That's okay.
Yeah.
But that success there really launched me into the next couple of things. It's kind of funny, like everyone thinks I'm so successful at that time. It was just like, yeah, I bought a deli that was already doing pretty well. I think I made it a little bit better and changed some of the process. And then I created 302. But that was pretty much it.
Yeah.
I started another 302. And maybe I'm underestimating myself. Like to run one restaurant is pretty difficult. And then to launch a brand new concept is probably hard. And then to open a second one and a food truck at the same time. The food truck came during COVID when we bought like a little Ford Transit and was just bringing the restaurant to people. Then we scaled that up.
And since then, so I guess actually before you end at 302, I mean, is there any other town in the works that you guys are working on?
We were looking at Elmhurst. We were looking at Glen Ellen. I love the Fox River Valley, so St. Charles, Batavia, Geneva. The number of people that come up to me are like, I wish there was a 302 here. Grand Rapids, somewhere in Phoenix, maybe. I've got family that has a place out there.
So we'll watch this space, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll stay posted on it.
I don't know.
I'll put a link.
Yeah.
If anyone checks this out, we can follow along with the 302 journey. If it comes to your hometown, that'd be great.
Fun.
So you're doing a lot more now.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us about kind of like the other things you've done in town since then?
Sure. Yeah, so after 302, it started with craft beer, one of my interests. And then 302, at 302, I host trivia. We have live music. I did bourbon nights. Like I went from craft beer to drinking bourbon. A few less calories. And so I'm
a funner time faster.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. You gotta sip it, enjoy it.
Yeah.
So I really got into bourbon, and so me and another guy, Bob, it was funny. We worked together at the furniture company. He was in marketing. He was working for a branding company there, so he helped us rebrand, and then. So him and I started a little speakeasy in downtown Wheaton called Suburban. The idea was to kind of create a space and community for those around bourbon. So it was not meant to be exclusive. It was really just we wanted to curate kind of this community at first and then kind of build off of that. So it's in the basement of an old building in downtown Wheaton. It's perfect. A realtor was like, hey, Eric, this place closed. Why don't you look at it? So I looked at it with my architecture design brain, kind of imagined this speakeasy. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is perfect. So we started Suburban about 2 years ago. With kind of members only initially, and since then I've kind of opened it up just because it's a horrible business concept to limit how many customers you have. So anyway, we say it's semi-private. Upstairs there was a restaurant that we were kind of partners on, but more like on a consultant basis. That restaurant ended up not working, so that was actually a great experience of learning. It was not our concept, it was not our vision, but we were willing to kind of assist as much as we could with that. It ended up not working.
Do you have any, I guess you mentioned these new concepts, and every one of the things you've done, you've basically taken from, post Shane's anyway, taken from the ground forth as a new thing, and it's gotten a ton of traction. Getting people to adopt a new vision and a new idea is not easy.
Yeah, right.
Do you have like anything you've learned from doing that, or what's your secret, I guess, to getting people to see your vision and help you like have so many different successes?
Yeah. So I'm not independently wealthy. I have partners on most things. The members of Suburban are our partners essentially, and so what I do is I use that as my initial marketing. So they are the tool within the community to explain, because you're right. 302, I had so many complaints. This isn't a burger joint. You got one type of burger.
Yeah.
Like McDonald's not a burger joint. They got one type of burger initially. Like, come on. So the community needs to adapt to it. And if they have, you can try to tell them how to adapt. That takes a long time. Marketing that can take a long time. They really need to come in, experience it, understand it, for them to get it. And sometimes it works for them and that fits what they need. Sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it takes some time, but I would say like those investors, they are your marketing team. Mm-hmm. Word of mouth is huge. And then people in conversations that I have no clue what's happening, but that's where the explanation's coming from. Yeah. I can do videos, I can do whatever. I don't like recording myself, but here we are.
Sorry.
No, that's totally fine. No, I don't like recording myself. Other people recording me, fine, but I don't like recording myself to like explain. I'm not a social media like person where I'm like filming myself, whatever.
Yeah. I love that point of people have to experience it.
Yeah.
And it becomes like their own story.
Yeah.
Once they can live it and see it, and then you telling people how to think is not. It's not really like it's sometimes that works.
Yeah.
That can oftentimes fall super flat.
Totally.
Yeah. Okay. So Suburban.
Yep.
So you've had Suburban, 302, Shane's. You've partnered on, consulted on other parts of town.
Yep.
I guess this is a good final segue into where we are here. So we're at a building.
Yep.
111 East Front Street.
Correct.
Also in Wheaton, downtown.
Yep. Right on Front Street.
Could you tell us? Can you tell us a little bit about where are we right now?
Yeah. So this is the old Carlson art store. Everyone gets confused with the hardware store, which is so the Carlson family. They actually are neighbors of mine across the street. Nancy Carlson was my Sunday school teacher when I was growing up.
Did not know that. That's wild.
Now they live across the street from me. And so this building was never really on my radar. It's a huge building. It's about 12,000 square feet. It is on the far east end of downtown Wheaton, I would say. Mm-hmm. There's not much retail or business east of us. There's a huge apartment complex, but 302 is on the far west side of downtown Wheaton, all on the north side of Wheaton. Tracks separate the town. But yeah, this building, I fell in love with it. I don't even know. I think they listed it for lease. And I have this disease of like looking at buildings that are available. And then I must have been bored, like because things were going well or something. But I was like, hey, I want to come in and look at this building. Got into the back of the building where there's this bow truss, kind of barrel vaulted ceiling with a huge skylight down the center. And I'm just like, oh my goodness, this is so cool. And then I start designing in my brain what this could be and thinking, okay, like huge open space, really cool architecture. We have nothing to do in Wheaton other than eat, drink, and shop. So why don't I do something? Like there's no good live music venue, and live music kills it at 302. And the problem with 302 with live music is that if it's great weather, it's awesome. But if it's not, you got to cancel it. So there's nowhere indoors for that. And so anyway, started pursuing, kind of met with the entire Carlson family, told them my intentions. Hey, would you rather sell instead of lease? So anyway, then one of my business partners got him involved, and we ended up buying this building because I loved that back area. I pitched this business idea of live music, event space with a tiny little pizza by the slice kind of shop kind of off the corner of it. And then we're going to lease out the front half of it. And then we're going to lease upstairs or turn that into our office, whatever. That was the initial idea. And that didn't really work out. Well, we bought the building. I had a partner to do this pizza concept with. Anyway, long story short, after a few iterations of finally figuring out what to do with it, and we purchased the building for over $1 million. The initial build out was probably over $2 million, and then the restaurant build out was over $2 million. So a ton of money invested into this building.
Yep.
But it was such a cool building, and now that we're finally open, one of the first people in for friends and family were the Carlson family. And it was like really cool to see them just like they grew up in this building, and now it's been completely transformed. And you would think that a family like that who has deep roots in Wheaton for so long would kind of not like change, but they couldn't be more happy. Like,
that's awesome.
They thought, like, I think as business owners age, and depending on what happens with the business, they're not able to or not willing to reinvest into the business, either the structure or into the business, and just it comes to an end, and that's okay.
Yeah,
Right now I'm 41, and I'm early on in my career, but it's like, what's going to happen to 302? Does it last for another 50 years, or does it end when I end? Like, when I'm done? Like, do I want to pass it on to one of my kids? Is it going to be run, or should I just run that thing as the best that I can to a point, and then say, that's it, we're done, and then everyone remembers 302 as this, like, it has a certain legacy to it. But anyway, getting back to this building, the end result is you're up here. You occupy this space, the upstairs office space, which is super cool, and I'm really jealous that you're up here and wish I had an office here. And then downstairs we have Dough, which is a pizza sports bar up front, right on Front Street. And then we have the backyard, which is that event space and that cool space. And then we actually bought the building to the east of this one and tore it down because it was about to fall down. And that is our outdoor patio that is also the entrance to both the front sports bar and the back live entertainment.
Yeah, we're very excited to be here.
Yeah.
We appreciate that we were somehow serendipitously connected to how this all came together. And I don't think I ever told you, because I think we walked the building about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And we even have some pictures from that, and you were showing us around, and I think the realtors were there. I forget exactly who was all there. But obviously it was like this incredible space. It was, of course, like, completely different than it is now. So you've made what you've made it into is I'm excited that the Carlsons are excited. Yeah. I think it is a testament to what you've done. So you've done a great job. And we are, very lucky to have somehow gotten swept up in it. When we got to know each other back then, I was just definitely taken to how much of a vision you had for these different projects. And I didn't know what we were going to end up making here at Bonsai or how it would really go, but I did think to myself, I want to be near what Eric's working on.
Yeah, so I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I was like, both to learn from you, but also just I definitely felt you embodied a lot of things that I wanted to, also do and learn how to do at Bonsai. So thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I think that's huge. I think people influencing other people is kind of how life works. Yeah. And so you may not know the positive influence or the negative influence that you have on other people. So it's always good to know and hear those things and then just continue. I mean, as I didn't really know what an entrepreneur was because I was just an architect. And then entrepreneurs, it's exhausting, but they are always trying to make something better and trying to figure out a solution for anything. And so if you take that energy, people want to follow that energy. There's a lot of people out there that don't have that kind of energy or positiveness to them, and that's okay. Not everyone has to be an entrepreneur, but I think there's something really fun and exciting about it that then done well can really change and build a community. And that's not my goal. My goal is just, honestly, my goal was to just make really cool spaces because it's really fun for me to do it.
Yeah.
But it's not oh, Eric, your burgers are so good. Or Eric, the bourbon's so good. Or Eric, the pizza's so good. We do get that. But the number of people that come up to me and are like, Eric, thank you for changing Wheaton.
Yeah.
I had no intentions, but it's really cool to think that that's the byproduct of just my dream for each space. Yeah. And maybe I need to hone in on that and kind of focus on that a little bit more. I don't know why, or maybe I just keep doing what I want.
I was excited to bring you to this. So people who watch my podcast, the few that do, right, we're in business and information, marketing and marketing technology. It's sort of this niche space, right? And so I will say, I'm a lifelong Chicagoan. technology is, I would say, stereotypically and historically been a coastal
Yep,
endeavor. Sure. We all know Silicon Valley and other stuff.
Yep.
And I do think there's a lot of things that people that I interact with on a more frequent basis in the technology software space, they tend to equate an entrepreneurship and innovation with technology. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's important for me as a member of that community to remember, most every great entrepreneur is not a technologist, right? They're everywhere. They do lots of stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a ton we can learn from what you're going through. I hope people in technology and in marketing technology continue to broaden their horizons and learn from other industries. I've tried to do that. I'm obviously my co-founder, Big Mike.
Yep.
Sort of internally, famously anyway, wasn't in tech before this. He was in aerospace and engineering and all this stuff. And it's you can learn a lot from people. And so I would say I think it's definitely something that resonates with me, that energy and the experiences that you are looking to build. Do you have any final advice if there are people who are, let's say, they think they're entrepreneurial or they don't know if they are, or maybe they haven't taken that first step yet. Yeah. Do you have any thoughts for them on what to think about next?
So I've had so many people come up to me and ask me how I did things, and they have this idea and they want to pursue this idea. My guess is you were at a point, I think most entrepreneurs, and even those that I'm reading about now, are at a point where you were talking about that. I think before we were jumping on, you were talking about these businesses get to a cliff and they either got to jump off or they got to slowly walk back down and back away. To be an entrepreneur, I think you have to have the guts to take that leap.
To jump. Yeah.
To jump. So you can, and that's a huge risk. And I think an entrepreneur, there could be a ton of upside. For me, it wasn't like a monetary upside. It was just, I just felt like I needed to do something different in my life. And I really wanted to pursue this. And so I took a leap. And so I think that's the biggest thing, because I've heard so many people come up to me and say, I want to do this. I'm like, here are all the tools that you need to do this. Like my part-time job that I don't get paid for, but I just enjoy helping people, is having them start their businesses in downtown Wheaton, walk them through my process, and then being a realtor. Like, hey, Eric, I need a space for this. But these people, if they're not willing to take that first leap and to risk it all, then it's not going to happen. And then it's sad because they just get stuck in their current position, and they're just there, wishing that they would have done that or hoping to do that.
So much of the lore around being an entrepreneur, I think from the outside or on social media, it's about, how famously wealthy you can make you, or the sort of idyllic version of they're the this magnate or whatever, Jeff Bezos is, or all these guys, and it's true, that can, obviously that happens, but it's not the kind of thing you would do if you were thinking hey, I'm going to become famously wealthy through this. Yeah. It's got to be about something else you want to accomplish, do, like you mentioned, you're going to walk up to that cliff. And for me, it was totally different story and different details, but the same thought process for me was, it wasn't I thought the experience of working and building bonsai was going to be this thing that made me more wealthy than what I was doing in my I had a career. It was fairly successful. I thought about it the opposite way. It's hey, this is the thing I'm going to have to risk or give up for the right to learn how to do something that I think I want to do, spend my time on, And so I think as long as you have something that's my advice, not that you asked me, but it's similar vein. It's you, if something is moving you to do it outside of just whether or not it works, you're probably ready to jump. If it's about it's about some other little goal, or I'm going to get something out of it. It's a scary thing.
Yeah.
So just, that you can lose those aspirations real fast when you're in the middle of like the third month of overnight work painting a building. You're not sure, like, why am I, there'll be more than enough reasons to doubt it as you're into it. So you're going to want something to pull you through that's not just about some magic, day where you become the king of the world, right?
I mean, it's interesting. Whether this is true or not, I'm trying to remember where I read it. It could have been social media, so it could have been totally false. The guy that created Minecraft, I mean, he created Minecraft I don't know. I think it was just he wanted to create an open world that you could kind of do anything in.
Yeah.
Ends up selling it, becomes wealthy overnight, has enough money to do whatever he wants. And now he's like the most lonely person in the world that has no drive.
Yeah.
And it just seems miserable. And I feel like money obviously is not, we need it, but it's not what I think an entrepreneur is striving for, because once they crush one idea or fail on one idea, I'm not sure if every entrepreneur is a serial entrepreneur like me, but I want to move on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Like once 302's humming, like like whenever things are going well and are in a steady state, then I can move on to start the next thing, because I'm a creator. I love to create. And so when things don't work out and I get stuck in a place where I've got to work on that for a year or 2 years, it starts to drive me crazy. And so I don't know where I was going with that.
No, yeah, we're like-minded on it, right?
Yeah.
Like I don't consider myself a serial entrepreneur, but I definitely consider myself someone who I hope we can live up to sort of that creation mindset that you've instilled in all the stuff you've done to date and what's happening in this town.
Yeah.
I'm excited to have a technology company that is going to be very successful, that is not in San Francisco, that's not in New York, that where's Wheaton? Like, we've more than enough evidence already, and I'm more excited than ever that we're here. So I wanted to thank you for coming.
Yeah.
Appreciate it,
Thanks
Eric.
for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see you downstairs probably.
Yeah.